Good morning.
Hi, for all the participants who have joined us on mute, I would request you to please mute yourself. Joined us on Zoom, please mute yourself. Also, if you could switch off your videos because there's a lot of bandwidth that gets consumed and then we start facing lags here. So, if you could please switch off your videos and also put yourself on mute. For any questions, you can put it in the chat box. We will try and answer as many as possible. And we are going live now. So, yeah. So I think we have started. So hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome today to the panel discussion organized by the Unicorn People, your new age HR business partners. We welcome you to the discussion on bridging the gap between industry and academia. Seeing that this topic has two sides to it, we have a panel which also has two sides to it, a panel which has representation from the corporate as well as from the industria, from the academia, sorry. So we have with us Professor Sanjay Daigude, who is a Dean IIC, which is Industry and Institute Interaction Cell for the Walchand College of Engineering. He comes with a solid experience of over 27 years of teaching, and his expertise lies in the field of electronics. Welcome, sir, to the panel discussion. Next, we have from the academia Professor Rajeshwari. Professor is Dr. Rajeshwari Daya Malik, sorry. And she has done her PhD from FMS Delhi on the topic which we are currently going to discuss, that's management, education, and corporate interaction, if I'm not wrong on the topic, ma'am. So, yeah. So she has over 17 years of teaching experience across management sections. Her expertise lies in leadership development. Marketing is one of her core areas, and she's also very passionate about women mentoring, which is mentoring for women professionals. So welcome to the panel, ma'am. Next, I would like to introduce Chandrasekhar here. Chandrasekhar comes from the corporate background. He is an HR professional with over 15 years of experience, an alumni of Xavier's Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar, and has worked across sectors. He's worked in banking, he's worked in the BPO sector, and he's currently working with Fleet Management Limited. Welcome, Chandrasekhar, to the panel. Next, we have on board Ms. Vandana Teji. Vandana is the chief consultant for the Unicorn People. She is an HR professional with over 10 years of experience. She has worked across sectors again. She's worked with healthcare, she's worked with ITES, etc. And her main expertise lies in talent management, in talent acquisition, and campus. She's also a government impaneled professional for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. So welcome on the panel, Vandana. So I'll quickly unmute all the panelists. I think I've by mistake put everyone on mute. So let me quickly. For everyone who has joined us through Zoom or through Facebook, you can ask your questions in the chat box or the comment section. We'll try and answer as many as possible. In case we are not able to answer it during the session, we'll try and answer them post the session, so you can keep commenting there. So welcome everyone. I hope that we are able to spend this next 1 hour in a healthy discussion and be able to help all the audience and the participants who have joined us here. So let me start off with this, you guys trying introducing your industry and what are your starting thoughts on the topic of bridging the gap between industry and academia. So Professor Rajeshwari, would you please like to start with a note on this topic?
Thank you, Rashi. It's my pleasure to initiate this panel discussion. And as a teacher for last 17 years, I had been interacting with industry also, and I had been teaching students, and I had discussion with the students once they visit the industry, what gaps they feel, that what all the institute should have taught them before they actually went to the industry. At the same time, as I told, as you introduced, my topic had been on the same, uh, which is primarily how to bridge the gap between industry and the management education that we impart. So I personally feel that yes, we are very conscious about the fact that there is a gap. That's the first step we have taken, and which is very important. Once we have recognized the problem, then we can definitely find some solutions. The first thing that I feel is, instead of doing a patchwork on the problem, we should start with the initial recovery or initial corrections. And that first correction is required at the entry level. When we take the students, first and foremost, whether there should be management education at undergraduate level or not, that's a debatable topic. I personally feel that in case there is management education, then for undergraduate level also, they should restructure the whole course and include, like it used to be for BBA honors in the initial years, they should first introduce at least 6 months of industry exposure before the students actually enter the premises of the institution. Another important factor which I had suggested even in my PhD findings is that the faculty first need to accept the fact that yes, we need upscaling, we need improvement, we need exposure before we can actually teach something to the students. So this is not that well appreciated by majority of the people, because it means that they have to leave their comfortable jobs and then move to industry for certain exposure, much more than what they are already doing. So from academia point of view, I feel the students need to brace up. First, the students also are not very serious about the learning process. That is also one of the biggest problem. Even in the course, in subjects like marketing management, in so many other subjects, when the course is already well updated, the students' exposure, the students' learning, that's missing. So I think industry interaction, along with industry interaction, in the colleges also, there are so many shackles we need to deal with, so many problems we need to deal with before we can actually put the blame on industry. Actually, there is a big portion which the industry can do, but before that, I think the colleges and the institutions need to first clean up the system there before they go to the industry. That's my initial take on this.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for that, ma'am. I'll shift the talking piece to Chandrasekhar now. We have heard for what the starting thoughts from the academia is. So, Chandrasekhar, from an industry perspective, what are your thoughts on the topic?
So this topic has been in discussion for quite some time. I remember even when I was in school, not even college, in school, there used to be similar discussions, but they were more on the lines of giving visibility to students about what are the career choices out there, and giving more familiarity and an understanding of making a decision about their own careers. That discussion has significantly evolved to this date and come to the point where we are talking about value rather than just awareness. And that is a good thing or a good direction for any discussion to go into, where we are evolving and talking about how can we make things better and not stuck in a place. Now, while the discussion has been moving forward, and at a pretty good pace for that matter, there is still a little more scope for the actual action around that discussion to move ahead. There is a significant gap today when it comes to people in the industry, especially at a senior level, looking at the potential or the value that they can get from a student or fresh pass out from any college for that matter, not just management education or from the engineering colleges. The engineering colleges, by the way, are pretty infamous for not being the best when it comes to employability of students. But that aside, a lot of the dissatisfaction or a lot of the uncertainty also stems from the fact that there is not enough thought being put in into what is to be expected from someone who is fresh from the college, as well as what is it that can be done as a preparatory measure for bringing in people from the college who are not familiar to what is happening in the industry in general. So the managers find it a challenge on two fronts. One is to familiarize someone with the company itself, and two is to familiarize someone who is coming in with how work happens at a broader level, and then focusing it down into how work happens within the company and within the industry. So the level of complexity that is attached to this is what often gets translated as no, we don't see enough value in it. Whereas the fact is more than the value, it is the effort that is missing. Like Rajeshwari madam rightly said, there is a lot that the industry itself can do. But there is also a lot that the industry is finding lacking when it comes to the preparedness of students, at least on the general understanding and their ability to quickly hit the road running or turn around from being someone who is a novice and more of a viewer and a student of what is happening around them to actually being part of the action. So that I think is where both of the industry as well as the academia needs to focus on, which is the onboarding and the smoother transition of a student or a product of the academia into a fully grown professional.
Sure, sure. Thank you for the points, Chandrasekhar. We'll now shift to Professor Sanjay Daigode for his points on the topic. Professor Sanjay?
Yes. Ma'am, I being a training and placement officer, I interact with both because the last 15 years I'm working as a training and placement officer, and I used to interact with the industry as well as just being a teacher with students and faculty. So what I find is that the participation of industry as far as this academia is concerned is very low in last few now the last few years. I think there is a change, but what I sincerely feel that academia the from industry part of view, as a part of their CSR activity, they should contribute more towards the academia. And basically to that, because this is a very everybody used to say to bridge the gap, everybody is just saying. But what I sincerely feel is that to bridge this particular gap, there are a lot of things to do. Is from industry I am expecting that they should participate more, particularly as the lab development, and uh, even also they should invest more in even also mentoring the students. I'm expecting that that few experts from industry should visit academia, the institutions on regular basis, and interact with the students, and express what are the current trends in industry. So that's what I sincerely feel. And my major concern is with the last few years. If you look at the admission criteria, even I being a teacher, I sincerely feel that this is very wrong. And look at the criteria for the admission. Initially it was 60%, then it come down to 55, then it come to 50, then it come to 45, and now it is 35%. So now I feel that the role of AICT and the role of DT from a technical education department from respective state government is very important as far as this is concerned. This is what I want to say. So
Sure.
the
Sure.
major concern is the intake
Mhm.
in the institution is the major concern.
Okay, sure, sir, sure. So I'll now shift to Miss Vandana, who is joining us on behalf of Dr. Ankita. Though, for everyone who's just joined us, Dr. Ankita has not been able to join in because of some personal reasons. Her baby was not keeping well, and it's obviously more important to, be there for your own family first. So Miss Vandana is joining us on behalf of Dr. Ankita. Vandana, if you could talk from your experience as an industry person, what are your thoughts on the topic? You're on mute, Vandana.
Hello and good morning,
Yeah.
everybody. I realize that. Okay, so first thing first, uh, I come from a academician's background. I would say my father is a retired dean, my mother is a retired principal, my sister is a teacher. So I come from that family, and I am the probably very few people in in my family who actually chose the corporate world. But I decided to choose the corporate world on purpose. Initially, it was like because when I was studying, there was this gap, not just between your parents, but also between your teacher. That is called as the very famous gap of, yeah, I would say, maturity levels. And I really don't want to use the word, because they came from a different set of thought process. And I don't want to call it generation gap. I know I can call it generation gap, but it is not about generation gap. It's about thought process gap. There were teachers who might be senior to us, and in fact senior to a lot of other teachers, but they were able to gel well with us. Okay. And but there were also teachers who might be younger than some other teachers, but they were not able to gel with the students. Okay. And now the requirement, and so the gap starts from there, right there. Okay. And then we eventually grow, and we join senior education. As our journey continues, the gap continues to increase. And then there is a scenario like COVID, which has finally hit us. Okay. Which has further changed the entire structure at which the industry and the academia are taking it now. Right now, both industry and academia are, in a way, I would say, uh, confused and uncertain, just like COVID. Okay, that's the best word. And unfamiliar how this will go ahead, and how the norms will in the system change. However, you know, in the last couple of weeks, we have been interacting with a lot of industry people and the academia people, and both of them say that there is a certain gap. The best thing is that when I heard all of you speaking, I can see clearly that everybody agrees that there is a gap. But what is the need of the hour? The need of the hour is to bridge the gap. Everybody knows that even. But why is there no action happening? My only thought around this is this, that this gap, as Mr. Chandrasekhar told correctly, it was there since we were a child. Okay. And we have grown. Now we are now somewhere almost hitting mid age in our life, but the gap is still there. I don't know, people both from industry and academia agree there is a gap. They agree that it is has to be bridged, but why is there no action happening? That's my prime concern.
Sure. Thank you for your thoughts, Vandana. I'll quickly take this one question which came up to us from one of the participants when they were registering, just to start the conversation and see if it will be helpful for everyone. So this one person asked us, are such discussions helpful? Which I was pretty curious to get your views on. While we are discussing, we'll be spending another 30 minutes on this topic. Just probably touch this point for another 2 minutes. Is this discussion going to be helpful? And if yes, how is this discussion going to be helpful? Or do such discussions are helpful for both the industry and academia? We do a lot of panel discussions, but the end purpose is to be able to make a difference. So over to you, any one of you, if would like
Yeah.
to,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Professor Daigude here. My sincere point is that we are discussing on bridging the gap between industry and academia. The first and important thing is the syllabus, and the second thing is the delivery. And first one, and then we should focus on the basics. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that the criteria for admission, that's where AICTE has to be very active. And I think uh, now we are fortunate that Dr. Sasrabudde is chairman of AICTE, and he's taking lot of initiative as far as this is concerned. So first, the criteria for the engineering admission should be fixed, and it should be fixed because every year they are keep on changing, number one. And the syllabus, I think everybody is saying, because I can copy the syllabus up IIT Mumbai or BITS Pilani, and but delivery is very important, so that actually the selection of the teacher is extremely important. So the HR policy of all institutions should be perfect, and that is the main concern. Because unless and until you don't have a good teacher, then how you can deliver? You have a good syllabus, you can take the syllabus from Stanford, but how to deliver it? That is the main concern. And every time industry complain about these uh, the product is not readiness of the graduates. So for that, I sincerely feel that we should mainly focus on basics rather than all other things. हम बोल सकते हैं ना कि अगर पाया, if the footing is not perfect, and then how you can build a building. So that I think that the primary, we should focus on the primary education. That is very, very important, because government is spending heavily on the higher education as compared to the primary education. So I sincerely feel that primary educations and fundamentals, the fundamental subject like mathematics, physics, and the other. And once these fundamentals are clear, because for any engineers, you need to be good in mathematics. So that's, I sincerely feel, and I think everybody will agree with my points.
Yes, sir. We will be discussing on these points in detail. But I just wanted to get a sense from the panel. Is this discussion going to be helpful, or such discussions like Chandrasekhar mentioned, कि जब वो स्कूल में थे तब से ये डिस्कशंस हो रहे हैं. So ये डिस्कशन इतने साल हो गए होते हुए, ऐसे डिस्कशन से कुछ फर्क पड़ता है? Does this make a difference out there to any of the concerned parties? Professor Rajeshwari, you have been a part of discussions like these, and you have done your PhD on this topic. So what is your thought? Do these discussions help?
Rashi, yes, these discussions helps whenever we take up a problem and we invite people from both the sides and take up a discussion. There are always certain important points that come out, some practical small steps that come out which can be taken at institutional level, at industry level, which solve these kind of problems. And I can give you certain examples, like when in my college I have taken a very small step which I have named it as my dream project, I call it, because this topic is very close to my heart. So in order to just bridge this gap, and in order to just not wait for the syllabus to be modified, not wait for some rules, policies, and procedures to be incorporated, when I felt that this problem actually requires somebody to just come and talk to the students. So instead of designing a syllabus based guest lecture, or something which is very cleanly mentioned in the syllabus, and that being taken from the industry. So instead of all that, what I have done is we have started a project called as Shibui Talks, which primarily focuses on exposing the students to the problems they are likely to face when they would go to the industry, and how they can start working on these problems right now, what all they can learn from the institute which is senior missed, and now they are working in the industry and they are in a right position to tell the students how you can get the best out of the current scenario, whatever it is. So instead of just waiting for things to improve on a very large scale, the best approach is that we take baby steps, we take smaller steps at a micro level. And then this problem, let me tell you, the problem is there and the size of the problem is very big. It cannot be resolved in one way. It's very clearly pointed out by Professor Sanjay that the regulatory authorities need to come into picture. The regulatory authorities and the students, these two stakeholders, when they become part of this discussion, only then it can bear some kind of fruits. Another important thing is the students that we get. The biggest problem that we are facing in the whole of education, not just about this bridging the gap between industry and institute, the major problem that we are facing is the privatization of education, which has led to multiple problems. The quality is deteriorating. The schools, management institutes, engineering colleges, all these are being run as business houses. So there is definitely a compromise on quality of teachers. There is a compromise on the students being admitted. There is a compromise on the education that is being imparted. I can give you example of some of the private university. I will not like to mention the names. Not even just private universities, some of the technical universities in India, they have a rule that they have to promote the students, come what may. So we usually joke about this, that it is very difficult to actually fail in an institution. You have to really work hard to fail, because the system is such that it is going to push you. It is going to push you and throw you out of the institute one day with a degree in your hand. So keeping all that in mind, I personally feel discussions like these are always wonderful, and with multiple participation, with people from both the sides participating and contributing, there are always some takeaways which anybody and everybody can take up and mold them according to the steps that can be taken at micro level. So I can tell you that out of my own experience of interacting with students and industry and being a teacher myself, I understand there are so many silos involved in modification of syllabus. It takes ages to modify, and even when it is being modified, it is done by the same teachers, and there are so many practical problems involved in it. The syllabus constitution committee do not have any good industry inputs, and there is, I personally feel, there is a complete lack of vision as far as higher education is concerned. And this lack of vision is the biggest reason, because we practically want everyone to survive. So it's not that we want to weed out the institutes and we want to remove the non-performing institute, or we want only the best one to survive. So that is, I think, somewhere one of the reason why there is so much of gap. In case the industry comes into picture and industry adopts some of the institute and put in efforts, they don't even give some kind of good inputs when the students are there during their summer internship. They are treated as burden. These students, they come and share their experience. I don't say that students, all students are very sincere, but yes, on behalf of very sincere student who actually wanted to learn, some of them actually face big problems when they interact with the industry. So it's not just a one-sided story, it is a two-sided thing which need balancing from both the sides. And panel discussions like these definitely can come up with some solution. It's just the way we approach the problem. Solutions are always there, and it cannot be solved in one day. And by the time we would be able to find a solution with this particular problem, maybe the whole education scenario would change in such a way that there would be nobody as a teacher and nobody as from industry, and it would be mandatory part of everyone to be part of industry and part of teaching. So let every manager become a teacher for a certain time, and let every teacher become a manager for a certain time. How easy that would be. I mean, I always keep recommending this, that every teacher should take 2 years break in between. After 5-6 years of working, they should go to the industry. But I don't know practically when this would be possible, how the systems can be designed accordingly. But I personally would love to take a break from teaching, go there and as a student and learn everything from a scratch, and then impart that as education to my students further. And
So we can probably announce to everyone that any industry person looking for an academician to take a break and work for them, Professor Rajeshwari is there.
I'm always there. I would love to be. I mean, I personally feel a few sentences that had stayed with me, like a teacher is a good teacher can only be a good teacher when they are student throughout their life. And as far as I'm concerned, I would love to enrich my teaching by going to the industry, doing industrial projects, interacting with people as much as possible. Only then I can actually pass it on to the younger generation and make them more employable. And one important point which I would like to point out here is the biggest cause of all this gap between industry and institute somewhere is the problem of value education. We had been missing on value education from school level to the college level, although we have added a subject called as values and ethics in business, which has been now made mandatory. But I think personally, I feel value education is missing. And once you inculcate those right values in the students, their learning approach would change. And then when that learning approach changes, when they go to the industry, they would have some kind of sense of giving it back to the institute or the alma maters, and that would automatically bridge the gap. It should not be compartmentalized as an institute per se, and every stakeholder, because the industry is dependent on the institute for their work power, manforce. So they should actually contribute without any regulatory authority or CSR initiatives forcing them to contribute.
Right.
So it has to be seamless that way.
Right. So Chandrasekhar and Vandana, we can quickly touch upon this from your end on what would be, what are your take on these panel discussions being helpful for the larger audience and all the participants who are listening to us?
Yeah.
Chandrasekhar, please go ahead.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Yes. So this is a very valid question. I understand. And every time a question like this comes up, I'm reminded of a story, and I'll take a minute to say that because Rajeshwari Madam has definitely addressed it very effectively from a contextual point of view. But to get an understanding, there is this story about Benjamin Franklin when he discovered electricity. Now, how Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity is he took a kite, he flew it into a thunderstorm, and he had some keys tied at the end of the string. And when lightning struck the kite, the keys got hot, and that proved that there is electricity. So with that electricity, there was no electric bulb, no heating, no ceiling fan, no AC, nothing. At that point of time, proving that electricity exists means the key got hot when the kite flew, all right, as something as irrelevant as that. So Benjamin Franklin was mighty excited. He was showing this off to everyone. And he got this same question, what use is this to mankind? And the answer that he gave was, what use is a newborn baby to mankind? Right. So any discussion, any point, any new idea that is kept forward needs to be viewed from that point of view. That are we dismissing something even before it starts, or are we looking at it in terms of the potential that it holds for the future? Every discussion that goes on, everything that is said in whichever forum only goes another step towards increasing the awareness of all the stakeholders involved, and also into giving an impetus to action that is to be followed behind it. So the next time that I am looking at someone from some students from the colleges to join my team, or when I am talking to a professor, I will have a better context of some of the things that Professor Sanjay as well as Professor Rajeshwari have been telling here, including that they themselves possess some challenges both in terms of the syllabus as well as in terms of the input quality of talent that they have on their hands. So that makes it a point, that takes me to a point where I have to work with them rather than expect things from them. And these ideas about someone from the academic background coming into industry, etc., are new things which I did not even know that people would be interested in. And now there is a scope, at least in areas where I know that there are people who are interested in this. Now, though I don't have the immediate opportunity for it, it is something that I will keep in mind that, yes, is this something that I can consider going forward?
Yes. So I think what everyone is here is saying that it does sort of give few ideas which we have so far not brainstormed upon or probably not come across, and also increases the level of empathy towards each other's challenges, because we somehow overlook the challenge that probably from an industry perspective we are looking at academia in terms of the input that they are getting, and they have to sort of groom that into the best possible as per their capabilities, and the industry again has to manage within the resources and look at a lot of other aspects on how they can move ahead in organizations. So Vandana, just last few, I'll give you a minute to probably talk on this, then we can jump on to the main discussion.
I have only one point to say that बात करने से ही बात बनती है, and this is our first step towards it. When we have started discussing, अपने घाव दिखाइएगा डॉक्टर को तो ही उसका इलाज पॉसिबल है. And right now, this is one process wherein we will expose what exactly is the pain point, so that we guys are aware. आपको चोट लगी होती है तो आप बोल देते हो ना कि भाई यहाँ पे चोट लगी, छूना मत मुझे. As simple as that, or let's work on some, improve it or cure it. That's the point. And this session is going to be recorded and it will be in our YouTube channel. Okay, so that it can be referred for future uses. So it is not like aaj baat hui aur baat khatam ho gayi. Tomorrow if somebody is researching, they can always refer this, and it's a free resource.
Oh, thank you on that. So we'll touch upon the first aspect of the discussion, which is the main piece here, the curriculum piece. So Professor Sanjay, Professor Rajeshwari have talked about how the regulatory authorities come into place here, how the AICT or the Department of Technical Education sort of set certain guidelines. And also it's not as simple as just creating a curriculum, because then you need the faculty who can deliver those sessions in the most appropriate manner. So keeping aside the regulatory piece, because there is not much that we at our level can do about it, if the panel can have a short discussion on what are those few steps that each of you can think from your own experience that can be taken for the curriculum to be more industry ready. Maybe the discussion can start with Chandrasekhar and Vandana saying what is it that the industry expects the academia, because that is one of the questions which is also coming in the chat box. What does the industry expect from the new students who are coming in? So accordingly, they can probably look at revamping their curriculum. Chandrasekhar, would you please like to? Yeah.
So, yes, in terms of what is the basic expectation of industry in from the students who are coming in, it is not very complicated. It's basically a good understanding of what business as a whole means, right? The basic concepts of profit, loss, operations, being profitable, costs, etc. Okay, we are often surprised that students who come do not have this basic understanding about how work actually happens. Now that is very generic expectation, which is related to business and operations as such. The other basic expectation that we have from students is a fundamental or a basic level of professionalism that has to be built into them. While people have their own understanding of what being at a workplace means, there is a serious lack of how people perceive the value that they add to work is. All right, starting from how they talk and behave with each other, and that comes a lot from the fact that while you are in a college or in an educational institution, you have a more collegiate culture. You have a more casual culture which is built more on camaraderie and people understanding each other, or not having the professional expectations from each other. That takes a very strong U-turn or a very strong deviation from there when it comes to a more corporate culture where the situation is more formal, and how you talk to each other or how you talk to your colleagues is expected to be very different from how you talk to your friends in a college atmosphere. So this, I find, is an area which is not addressed by any educational institution. And I'm not talking about educational institutions these days or new private educational institutions, etc. But in general, no educational institution actually focuses on this, even though they have some programs which are directed towards industry interaction, towards people from industry coming and addressing the students about what etiquette is, etc. They have classes which happen on that, but never really a concept of building the culture in. Now, some of the things that we have had to do to bridge this is that whenever we hire freshers from college, especially from the campus, when we hire a new batch, we would often have a 2-week long campus to corporate session. All right. And in times where the turnover time of 2 weeks would not be available, that's these days a luxury. So we would have at least a week-long session or 3-day-long session, and then a continued program which would run for another 2 weeks, but taking only about half an hour or 1 hour of their time on a day-to-day basis. This would act as both a counseling session for them for day-to-day things that happen at the workplace, as well as a session where the basics of etiquettes at the workplace would be made clear to them, and how to deal with bosses, how to deal with colleagues, how to deal with seniors, how to deal with peers, and what is the general expectation is made very clear. Right. So this, I feel, is something that is very basic and can be driven in terms of culture building of how work happens at the educational institutes itself. Besides that, the overall understanding from or overall learning that most students have from their industry exposure, especially their internships, is something that can be worked upon. For a greater part of how we experience internships, we have noticed that there is a tendency at both ends, from the institution as well as from the industry, that we tend to repeat the same things that have been done. So for a good part of my experience as HR, the interns who used to come to us used to come with the expectation that organizational study is what their internship is going to be all about. And this organizational study, when I say it, it means they understand what our organizational structure is, what the names of the departments are, and then they go back and they copy their seniors' work, replacing just the organogram and the names in their report. And this is something which was very surprising for me, and which I had to spend at least a year battling to, because it's a yearly cycle. So the first year I was completely caught off guard. The second year I had to try and convince them. And by the third year, we actually had good relevant internship projects going. And this is not a fight that I had to fight with colleges. It's a fight I had to fight internally also, preparing my managers to actually give challenging projects and think of things that they could turn around in a process in a period of 2 months, if not fully, then at least partially. One segment of a project being given to interns who come in. So those are the basics where we need to challenge the status quo, talking about things not being acceptable as they are, and that we should increasingly demand that there should be a difference and an evolution of how we interact with each other.
Yes. So I hear you saying that a lot of challenges from the student who are actually the main pillars of the entire discussion, and that's the change that we all are working towards bringing. And also hear you saying that as an industry person, you have to spend another 2 weeks after they have graduated to just get them understand what is the culture of working, how is it different from a college to, you know, working in a corporate setup. So great insights on the softer aspects of what people are. I would, Vandana, I'll skip you for a second and I'll take it to Professor Sanjay to bring us a little technical aspect to it. So coming from an entirely technical educational background, sir, and also Chandrasekhar mentioned that from the technical education, we do face a challenge of their readiness to the industry because the softer aspects is something which is not a lot focused upon. Recently, AICT has also made some changes. We have a few questions coming in from you on those aspects also. AICT has introduced a few changes in the curriculum. So if you could quickly point a bit on the industry readiness of the students and how we are preparing from the academia front.
Yeah. As far as my autonomous institutes are concerned, actually what they have introduced one semester internship pattern where actually students can complete their project in industry. But what I'm observing now, the colleges like Walchand College or good colleges, okay, industry is somehow biased towards the institutions. And even also HR people or industry people, they are targeting a few institute basically in metros because travel is the main concern. So my request to industry that if they visit to the in a institution in the rural area or what you can say some town, what you can say remote places, so it will be helpful. So one more aspect I think I can add to bridge this gap is the role of alumni. The alumni, if they keep on interacting with the students regularly, if they visit their alma mater and just focus on what they are doing in their area, whatever it may be, in mechanical, electrical, electronics, and whatever it may be, definitely it will help a lot. And the second thing is that you talked upon internship. Now, internship is one where both institute as well as industry must be flexible because we are facing a lot of problem as far as the time frame is concerned. So internship is the one area which will definitely help a lot. And internship means not word internship, but proper internship will definitely add value to this particular to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And what happened as far as the internship is concerned, most of the time, whatever these students are doing, during their internship, the students are just assisting the mentors, assisting the who is the project manager or whoever may be. So that is even also most of the time teacher complaints about the internship projects, what they are doing during their internship period. So this is one area I think we need to address.
Okay, sure. So Vandana sir has been talking about how students end up assisting their mentors when they go out for internships, which again is a crucial part from a technical aspect as well as a management education, and also would be a crucial piece when Chandrasekhar was talking about them getting to know the culture and the ways of working of a company. So what are your thoughts on that?
So Rashi, the thing is this, that what Chandrasekhar said it all. That the requirement from or the expectation from a fresher is not like I want the moon. It is very simple that they come with, as Professor Sanjay Daigude also said, that we need people who have completed internship in real sense, and this will happen only when, we will have to, as you said very correctly, you have to identify your alumni platform, to bring in. If they are not coming, please invite them into your college and speak to them about it, that this is what is lacking. Because even the industry misses it, that people doing real internship, the copy paste thing that you spoke about, Chandrasekhar, is so common when it comes to engineering, management, or any form of education. That way, I think everyone has done that. Okay, so I think that is the need of the hour. Alumni base is the ones which will help you. Okay. And when another very important thing I would like to talk about is skill development, and which also Chandrasekhar pointed out, briefly. The skill development right now, which is happening, it is a part it is like a mandatory tick mark activity which colleges are supposed to conduct for students, and students also attend, as per their own convenience, or just to get a tick marks of attendance. Okay, this attendance key, I came for that session. But whether that session was impactful, because that skill development cannot happen within 2 hours of session. It can never happen. I can speak to you for 5 hours, but until you go back and implement and come back to me and I check it, there is no way that skill development has really happened. That is the problem. I am saying, I know there is a lot of issue with what has AICT, come up with, or the changing norms of the government. But my point is that if government has come up with an idea, and if we do diligently follow it, there would be still some difference. The reason technical, initially, as Dr. Rajshri ma'am actually spoke about initially, I remember when my my in-laws and my fathers, they were actually studying that time. MBA was a voluntary education. Okay, and voluntary your education is something which has to be taken up only after you have certain years of work experience, and then it actually made sense. Now it is, MBA is no more MBA. What you, it is like an education. Okay, अच्छा अभी ग्रेजुएशन कर लिया तो अभी मास्टर्स कर लो. मास्टर किस में करना है? अच्छा साइंस नहीं आता है, आर्ट्स, ये साइंस नहीं आता है, मैथ्स नहीं आता है, तो क्या करेंगे? एमबीए कर लेंगे. ठीक है, इंजीनियरिंग के बाद नौकरी नहीं लग रही है, क्या करें? एमबीए कर ले. That is the way it has come. It is like a checkbox activity. You will have to change this mindset. Education is losing its value, as ma'am correctly said. Okay, it is like सबको डिग्री पाना है, डिग्री इकट्ठे करना है. I see people having so many degrees. I said, when did they get the time in the world to do those? That is my point. And what are they gonna do with these many degrees? Where are they implementing it? So when I read their profile, I feel I'm uneducated. That's my first point that comes to me. Okay, so very, very important over here is whatever limited ideas we already have, like skill development, let's do it like an annual calendar. There is a training and placement cell. Okay, but is the training happening? Where is the training part? Only placement part. Everybody is talking about only placement part, but the training and placement person, I got to know that there is one person managing 5 institutions. That I'm like, I know Sanjay sir is a training and placement officer, and he would be able to talk much more about it. I don't know where is the role alignment. I'm like, how will I take care of if one MBA class has 500 students? 2 years will have around 1,000 students. That is like 5,000 students. I'm supposed to take care of training and placement without a team. Now I don't see that happening. I like either the person, the training and placement head or officer is a Superman, or I know, this is where I want both Sanjay sir and Rajshri ma'am and Chandrasekhar to talk about it. We need to discuss this out.
So you talked a lot about the alumni piece here, and I would like to shift gears to Professor Rajeshwari. She talked in the start about how she implemented a little. We also have a question on our Facebook page asking, how do we understand what are the skill requirements of a student to be industry ready? So from your experience, ma'am, when you implemented the Shibui talks that you did, how did you go about it? And probably you can give a few ideas to all the faculty members who are sitting here and listening to us, and maybe they can introduce something like that.
Uh, yes, Rashi. See, this is such a healthy discussion. I really love the points raised by Chandrasekhar first. I'll focus on that first. Chandrasekhar, you said you spend around 2 weeks' time to train them, just to make them acclimatize them to the culture and just teach them what the culture requirements are, what the etiquettes required are, how to deal with people and everything. I personally feel when we send the students for internship, they should be taught all this at that particular point of time, so that when they come back from the industry after their 2 months of internship, or in some cases 1 semester of internship, they should understand how to get the best out of their institute now. What is it that they are missing? And the biggest problem I would like to point out here is, we are all sitting here, people from academia, people from industry. We do our work very sincerely. I personally feel Chandrasekhar must have fought with everyone in the organization to remove some cobwebs and clean up the whole system, which is most difficult task. So we are all fighting with systems all the time. I do that in my institution all the time. I just work around the system to find out the best solution, because otherwise it takes long time to actually do anything concrete. So I feel that the students are the key to solve this problem. I may be teaching them wonderfully, but the students sitting here need to be receptive in order to actually get something out of the lecture. And you may be so keen on giving them tough assignments and challenging assignments, but they don't want to do it. They want to find some easy way out. And then at the end of the course, they go back to you and they complain of institute not giving them the right, you complain about institute not giving them the right skill, and we complain about the students not getting the right placements. So ultimately, the key role here is not just the teachers in the academia or the industry, but the students. Somebody even, I think Vandana mentioned about attendance. Let me tell you, in case there is attendance, half the problem is solved. And this is a big, uh, painful experience. I'm telling you, it is so difficult to bring the students to the class, actively bring the students to the class. I mean, they would come for attendance. They would do anything for uh, completing the assignment without thinking about quality. So that's this. All this micro problems can be solved by only one solution, which I feel that they should have the right value education system from the primary school onwards. We push them so much into competition in the early stages onwards, that they at some point of time they forget that learning is not just for attendance or for the teacher or for the system or for all these things. Learning has to be for self. That is missing in the whole education system today. Inflation of marks, they just boost about, ma'am आप मुझे क्या बोल रहे हो, मेरे तो इतने परसेंट मार्क्स आते हैं. And then I have to tell them, बेटा इतने परसेंट मार्क्स उस प्राइवेट स्कूल की टीचर की मजबूरी से आपके 12th में आए हैं, आपकी कमाई से नहीं आए हैं. So please forget, don't tell me that you have scored this much of marks on your own and you learn something actually up to that level. So it is very difficult to solve this kind of problems with the without the involvement of the students in this. So next time, Rashi, I would appreciate in case you can just make some students also to be part of it. Some students who actually want to gain something out of it. As far as Shibui Talks is concerned, I would love to share that experience. And Rashi is one of the students waiting to be part of that Shibui Talk series. Uh, we have invited students who just passed out 2 year back or 4 year back or 10 year back, who had developed certain sense of maturity. Now they understand the system much better than when they were the part of college culture. Youngsters, vibrant, and as Chandrasekhar pointed out, they are more into happy go lucky kind of a scenario there. So when they go to the industry, when they go through that rejections and learnings and relearnings and in some cases unlearning of so many things, then they are a little more mature and they connect even better than the teachers can do with the students and tell them, see, I was sitting there like you and I did not understand this is what I could have done at that point. So all those regrets, all those afterthoughts, that when shared with the students in a storytelling way, actually makes their experience much better. And this actually has shown a great impact in terms of the assignments when that is given to them. The attendance has improved because I'm not forcing them to come to the class. I'm motivating them to come to the class with the help of my team of Shibuis. They come and they talk to the students. They tell them that this mistake I did at this particular semester. You can improve on this and you can do this. And they talk about how to handle different subjects and how to get the maximum out of it. And at the same time, when we talk about talk in a very storytelling kind of a way, it is not heavy on their heads. For example, I can give you one very simple comparison. I invited somebody from the industry. He was a very senior person and he came there to give a talk on some topic, and I literally have to force the students to sit there because that person was there and he was talking like a boss would do, and he was just give them gyan which they were not interested in taking, and I had to literally force them to sit there, and it was so difficult for me to contain the students in that lecture for some time. And in Shibui talks, when the student when Shibui talk, somebody is there for a Shibui talk, the students so actively get involved in it, and I have to actually cut down the number of participants. I say I'll let you sit there for the next session, because it is so participative. There is no teacher involved in it. So it is just between them and their seniors. So it improves. The alumni can actually play a key role. Alumni today is representing the industry for us. And if they become active members of the colleges, the gap is bridged. So I think alumni holds a very important place when it comes to solving this problem of bridging the gap. So if everything remains the same also, so alumni would automatically be supporting the teachers also. And Chandrasekhar, thank you so much. I'll be waiting for some kind of offer from your side for some kind of assignment. And I would love my students also to be part of that. And I promise you that we'll give you the best kind of skills that are required by industry.
So there are a lot of faculty members who have joined us here. We are getting a few interesting insights from them. So I'll quickly share their thoughts on the topic. There are not questions, but a lot of brainstorming happening in the chat box. So someone says that more organizations should have domain-specific tie-ups with the institutes to make them industry-ready. They have given examples of organizations like Infosys and TCS who basically conduct campus-to-corporate programs at institutes. So that is one of the areas that, the gap is getting bridged from a student development perspective. We also have something coming on from our Facebook channels. We have someone saying that more industry relevant electives should be given to final year students or third year students in engineering onwards, so that the curriculum is more industry ready. That's the period that they go do their internships and then are expected to join the corporates post the completion of the course. So probably focus more on the electives in these final years of the students' education. Also focus on faculty development program. That will be the next point that we'll be talking on. Someone in the comment section has also mentioned that we should work rigorously towards faculty development and just not focus on student development only, because that is again the foundation of student development. So shifting gears from here, Rajeshwari ma'am already talked about how she is available for projects and she will have her team of students supporting in that. I'm sure a lot of other teachers out there are of the same thought that you are, or probably would get motivated from what you just said and would be ready with their team of students to take up corporate projects. So to all the corporates listening to us, we would like you to contact us. We have an entire pool of faculty members ready, students ready to take up your projects. If possible in this situation, remote working is possible and you can probably shoot out a few projects. We'll be more than happy to bridge that. So talking about faculty development, a very key point is coming up again and again, where we are talking about curriculum ban jayega, student chalo, if he or she is motivated, they will come to the class. But the person who's motivating those students is the faculty members. And Vandana, starting mein, she pointed about how a few faculties were able to create that sort of environment for them to come gel up with the teachers and the students bridge that age generation gap that might be there, and there are few faculties who are unable to do that. So few thoughts on that, if any one of you can start on this topic, talking about how faculties can develop further.
Before that,
Yes, sir.
Rashi, I want to share some initiatives from our side, that is
Sure,
from
sir.
institute. Because we as a MahaTPO also, because I being the executive director of Maharashtra Training Placement Association, and our other governing council member like Dr. Ravandale, Sanjay Zadav, Sanjay Sutar, Madhav, and a lot, so many. We are taking a lot of initiatives, and definitely I want to thanks few industries like TCS, because TCS is, you can't imagine, like Tata stand for what you can charity. They are doing a lot of charity for in society as well as in education, because the TCS is involvement in all education institute. They are reaching to the all institutes in across the India. The hats off to TCS effort. Similarly, Infosys is now the last 2 years, again they are very active, like the program like Hack with INPI, and they are inviting students to code, and those who are scoring 65% and above, they get direct chance for the interviews. And one industry I would like to name is the KPIT Cummins. Now there is a KPIT. The KPIT Sparkle is such a fantastic program, which is actually the mix of software as well as hardware, and the kind of project, kind of idea they are giving, and the inviting for student is definitely wonderful. And the one more industry I would like to name is the Eaton Corporation. They are going to the institute. They are talking to the students. They are conducting 2 days, 3 days workshop on soft skill, typically etiquette and manners. And even also the industry like John Deere, Mahindra, the competition like Baha is the competition which is happening at various places, particularly in Jalandhar, where the MIT Pune. So I think these kind of initiative we as institutions are taking definitely. But what I'm observing as a training and placement officer, because I'm maybe please Chandrasekhar ji, please excuse me if I'm blunt in this as far as this is concerned, but they are biased. They are biased. They are going to only the top institutions like IITs and NITs. Definitely, my institute is being one of the topmost institute in India. We are not facing the problem, but I, as a society member, sincerely feel that industry should give the justice to the normal institution as well, and that will help. And through MahaTPO initiative, we are reaching to the institution in the remote area as well, and giving lakhs of students, bringing them in, what you can say, giving them chance to appear for various examinations, various competitions, various mock exercises, and even also the through pool campus we are giving chance to the institution across the India. So these are the initiatives, but definitely, as far as we people are concerned at the institute, we should definitely focus on industry-ready projects, some small projects, because if one area is concerned, suppose I belong to the electronics, so I used to teach the linear integrated circuit and video engineering and control system. So I should, rather than giving just theoretical knowledge, I should just focus more on some projects work. So that will definitely help. But here, in last few years, definitely there is a changes happening because of the participation of the industry, because they are launching so many contests. बहुत सारे कॉन्टेस्ट आ रहे हैं ना, just like KPIT Sparkle, Code Vita, there is a testimony, and also there is a Enginex by TCS for the students, and these competition definitely. But what I'm observing, the part as rightly mentioned by Rashi and Vandana and Rajeshwari ma'am, the participation of the students. Definitely, we teachers should take a lead to motivate them to participate, because once they participate in such events, definitely the employability become easy, because they get more and more chance for of recruitment. And one last point I would like to mention, all the time we are talking about the employability, all the time we are talking about just recruiting and giving chance to the students, but I think we should focus more on startups. I think we should talk, when we are interacting with the students, we should talk about entrepreneurship, we should talk about the startups and all that, that culture need to be inculcated in the organization. And all the time we should not talk about the job, we should talk about other areas as well. And at the end, one concluding remark I would like to ask, I as a teacher would love to uh, want my student as the best common person, the best person. If he is the best person, the full of attitude and full of aptitude, that's I think that the end of day, definitely he's going to rock.
So we hear you, sir. A lot of competitions industries are coming up with, but one thing that you pointed about why industries focus on those few selected colleges, I think from an industry perspective, I would like to take this opportunity to point across. When I was into the industry time, trying to create that campus engagement with the colleges, there are limited resources that we also have as an organization, and we would like to invest it in the best possible method. And there are rankings which are there is our own personal experience of association with colleges that helps us get those shortlists ready. But as a student, when I was there in a college, I have been lucky to be from premier institutes. However, my postgraduate institute was in a remote location, particularly it was not in a metro city. We had these various portals which are available, which we as student explored, and we got live projects. In my 2-year education, I had one internship which was mandatory, and I had 5 live projects which I did sitting in college. And that was just, I did it, and my colleagues helped me, my peers helped me to get it through various portals available. So coming back to the student initiative here, I think as students, if we don't take our own career seriously and we keep banking upon two external stakeholders, which is our faculty members and industry people, to keep helping us, we will never mature. वो कहते हैं ना, मतलब हम जब ग्रेजुएशन में जाते हैं हम ऑलरेडी अडल्ट्स होते हैं. आई रिमेंबर राजेश्वरी मैम इन आवर फर्स्ट क्लास टेलिंग अस, यू आर अडल्ट्स, इफ यू वांट टू सिट इन माय क्लास सिट, इफ यू डोंट वांट टू सिट आई विल गिव यू अटेंडेंस, you don't worry about your attendance. I clearly remember those words, and I think that is when I decided इस class में बैठ जाते हैं, कुछ तो मिलेगा. So if we as faculty members also start treating our students as adults in the first go itself, I think we will be able to understand कि actual, हाँ बच्चों को समझ आ जाएगा कि वैल्यू मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा. We have become too mature now, and I remember in college every Monday uniform पहनना पड़ता था. I will never forget those days. When I first entered my corporate, it was a 6-day uniform, and तब realize हुआ कि Monday पहनना इतना मुश्किल होता था और अब 6 दिन पहनना है. So those few habits, if we start inculcated from a faculty perspective at the time of when we are giving education in terms of behavioral changes, that will go a long way. Because otherwise ये डिबेट ऑनगोइंग रहेगा, इंडस्ट्री अकेडमी आपस में डिस्कस करते रह जाएंगे एंड स्टूडेंट्स बस बैठे सुनते रहेंगे कि हमारा कोई स्टेक नहीं है, या तो फैकल्टी हमारे लिए काम कर लेगा या फिर जब हम कॉर्पोरेट ज्वाइन कर लेंगे वो हमारा इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम में हमें सिखा देंगे, हम खुद कुछ नहीं सीखेंगे जाके. So I think to all the students out there, it is on you. Well, we can discuss, we can take all the measures. We are here to do the best for you. But till the time you don't take those steps, all the discussions, all the steps that are being taken, if you don't have the motivation yourself, nothing will happen. Like we can continue discussing, we will do the best, but I don't think it will bring about any change. So, Vanna, yes.
Yeah, you know, also very very important is to understand, do this mapping of interest. You know, unfortunately 10 years back भी वही होता था, पापा बोले इंजीनियरिंग कर लो, okay, और आज भी वही हो रहा है, मम्मी बोली इंजीनियरिंग कर लो, okay. You know, irrespect, हम सब, you know, we know all this is an important issue, but this interest mapping has to be done. I will sit in a class in which I am interested to be, and that also talks about faculty development. Okay, wherein my when I come and sit, as Rashmi ma'am told that there was a situation when she had to force people to sit in the classroom because the guest lecturer was actually giving gyan. And so it is the same thing with faculty also. Gyan itna internet pe free available and nobody wants it. What people want is clear point, concise points, and to see whether if I sit in this class, I am getting something which is real thought. Idea जो मिल रहा है वो real होना चाहिए, and वो तभी होगा जब we start investing in faculty development. That is my closing point, Rashi, here.
And Rashi, one last point I want to just emphasize, I think, and which is a point of a big concern, is the lateral entry. Lateral entry matlab the students doing diploma and joining second year program. The problem is that these students are almost, initially there were 20% quota, now it is reduced to 10% quota. So, okay. So now actually the student goes to diploma after 10th. But as far as the focus on physics, mathematics, chemistry even is absolutely basic. So when they enter into the second year, they found very difficult as far as the maths and mathematical oriented subjects are concerned. And as far as the screening examination is concerned, particularly aptitude. So last particularly 10 years, I'm finding the students from diploma, however they were their CGPI or percentage, they failed to crack the entrance exam. That is the aptitude or quant examination, initial screening. So I think I will suggest, like to suggest AICT and all the respective bodies that diploma admission ये 10वीं के बाद नहीं होना चाहिए, 12वीं के बाद होना चाहिए. 10th 12th like जो भी D pharmacy, all other diploma, the admission is after 12th. So diploma, technical diploma, the admission must be after 12th, not after 10th.
In fact, I don't find the necessity of having this diploma anymore, because diploma karke, that student gets stuck. A lot of organization don't hire, diploma students because they are looking for 10 plus 2 plus 3. Okay. And when you do a diploma, you become 10 plus 2 plus 3. Sorry, you become again 10 plus 2. It is not 10 plus 2 plus 3. As a result, a lot of, organizations, they don't hire them. Considering your point, sir. And yes, although it is just the 10% that is, entry, I would say, but then a lot of students still continue to do diploma, and a lot of they are not considered in competition exam on either public service competitions. They are not considered under private sector admissions. So I really don't understand why we have this diploma. Yeah, that's a valid point.
So we have another 5 minutes. I will quickly, we have already exceeded time actually, but I'll take the liberty of going for another 5 minutes, because one crucial point we have not been able to discuss is the faculty development. If just a few thoughts from each one of you on what either your institutes are doing, or from the industry perspective, what you think that the industry can do to probably upskill our faculty so that they can upskill our students in turn.
Faculty, yeah. I will just a faculty develop program. Again, it depends on faculty. To be frank, now faculties are joining for faculty develop program and doing nothing is happening. I think because their faculties are doing faculty development program for their what you can say the promotions and all that, because sometime it is a need that आपने कितने faculty develop program किए हैं. So faculty develop program will be effective if faculty wholeheartedly participate in that faculty develop program, and it happens. Those are faculties, those who are serious and joining these faculty develop programs sincerely, it pays off definitely. And the faculty development program by industry will help a lot. Because what happened, faculty development program arranged by one institution for other faculties, which will not add value. So what I will do, it should be mix of some experts from industry as well as experts from some IITs and NIT, good institutions, and having good research exposure. These people, if they arrange the fact, they are the expert, then definitely faculty development program be will be fruitful and useful.
Sure. So Chandrasekhar sir has talked about how the faculty development program should be a little participation from the industry. So what are your thoughts? How can the industry, a few ideas on that, help in the faculty development, or what skills do you think the faculty should possess?
Um, so I really am not an expert on faculty as such, but from what I have seen in my interactions with faculty members is it is wrong to classify all of faculty in one basket. There are those who are genuinely curious, interested, and want to develop not just themselves, but the entire institution as well as the students, and more importantly, the students than the institutions. And yet there are those who are more focused on the stability of the whole setup, where they are happy with how things are, and they are pretty good at what they do, and they are stable there. They are not interested in really going beyond it. So then there might not be a one size fits all approach where you say this has to be done for faculty. There may be a need for us to look at the interest of the faculty themselves and give opportunities for them to develop as such. And that cannot happen without the whole system coming together for it, especially the colleges itself. And at a management level, the college management level, where those faculties who are interested in working with institutions should be encouraged to explore that area further, should be encouraged to take up consulting assignments, should be encouraged to have a flexible approach to how they schedule their whole program with respect to industry. Now, faculty can also team up with students themselves and be more participative in the internships or in the projects that they take up. And these projects can be of a much higher scale and more important. One of the bigger concerns that industry has is the concept of consequence. So for a student who is coming for an internship, a particular project might be just that, a project that has to be, that is a rite of passage for them for the next 2 months to come. Whereas the stakes for a manager who assigns the project to these students could be much higher. And that is where we often see a gap or a trust deficit, where managers are not willing to give out projects that are high stakes to interns. If there is a backing of the faculty for a particular project, then there might be a greater motivation for the manager also to increase the stakes of this particular project. So that I feel is one area where faculty who are willing are motivated further and are given that opportunity to go in and increase the stakes for all involved and maybe give out better results as well.
In
Sure.
fact, the one very major point is this: when it comes to faculty development, as Rajshri ma'am told very, very clearly, that and that is something that the industry also practices. Okay, all good companies do practice this. This is called as redeployment. Okay, wherein suppose the industry, the faculty gets an opportunity, redeployment opportunity on projects, product development, where that is a key element which many people in industry are struggling. Okay, considering that they do not have ample resources to research and come back to make sure that this thing gets implemented. Okay, something like an incubation center, which a lot of colleges have started doing. Okay, but the product is still not visible to the industry, and the reason it is not visible is because it is not being showcased properly. you know Simple, when industry does something, comes up with an idea of work from home, they create so much of noise digitally, they create so much of noise, they have a people matters expo happening, a LinkedIn expo, a spotlight happening for every small thing that the industry introduces. We have to move into that manner so that it motivates the faculty to go ahead and take up those projects. It is like motivating the faculty to go ahead and continue education, self development, take up projects. We have to motivate them. So the college organization has to play a very instrumental role in how they showcase these, so that all the coming faculty, it becomes a continuous cycle.
Sure. So I'll shift gears to Rajeshwari ma'am. Just your last thoughts on how faculty development is done, or how you see it happening, what you see as a need, given that you yourself are a mentor to a lot of aspiring and aspiring PhDs.
Yes, Rashi. See, as far as faculty development is concerned, my first point is that there is a need to identify which area we need to develop. I mean, as a faculty, as part of the system, I have to do faculty development programs twice a year. So I'm following that herd mentality. I'm fulfilling all those requirements of the system. But at the end of the day, if I look at it, I just received a certificate, nothing else. I myself, as a resource person, have been a resource person for so many faculty development programs. So when I'm conducting those programs for the younger faculty, I like to give them some kind of a challenge at the end of it, or which they should take up and they should pursue their research on those areas. So as far as faculty development is concerned, the primary gap in faculty development is to identify the area which need to be developed. So instead of just making them a run of the mill kind of faculty development program, there should be something specifically focusing on development, which actually gives me some kind of barometers to see that yes, some kind of development or learning has actually taken place, which is missing to a certain extent, which again can be improved with interaction with the industry, where I get some live projects. There the learning is going to be much different, but it will not be rated as a faculty development program by my institutional and systems. So these are the biggest problem. We can call it faculty development, but those faculty development, the definition of FDPs is completely different from what the industry would define as FDP. So the gap is primarily there again. So if you look at faculty development program from a teacher's point of view, from a educator's point of view, anything that I learn which can bridge the gap for my students, make them more skillable, make them more employable, make them more relevant to the industry, that should be actually considered as faculty development.
Correct.
But for that, again, I would require the right kind of resource person. The resource person should be from industry. Again, it should fit into the jackets which are already being fixed up by the regulatory authorities and institutions. So faculty development program has to be a mandatory. Again, that is going to be a smaller version of industry institute interaction than anything else. So that can actually result in faculty development program. One then I would like to point out one important thing which you mentioned in your first statement also, that there are certain teachers who are more approachable, who are more friendly, and who are actually kind of very good when it comes to being your favorite teachers. So I would like to just point out one big problem which is coming up because of this triple P model or just the privatization of education. So what the teachers are now being forced to be friendly because of the kind of management systems we have in the institutions. The students have to give the feedback about the teachers, and at times I have been a seasoned teacher now. I was one of the strictest teacher. My students used to come and tell me I'm very strict, but I used to treat the students in a very mature way, and I still do that. But personally, let me tell you, there is a breed of teachers. They are called the parrot teachers, who would say exactly what the students want to hear. Instead of focusing on what the students need to be taught, they would be very friendly. They would give everything possible to the students in a very live and let live approach kind of a thing. They would not bother you, you don't bother them kind of approach. So at times, I feel there is a very huge problem when it comes to organization cultures, especially institutes, because of the privatization of education. So uh, teachers are also facing different pulls from different areas. So even if I want to do something in a very different way, the system do not give me that kind of freedom that I can fail a student. So what is the point? I know the student has not learned, but still I can't keep him back in the institute and make him learn. I can't do that. So I'll pass it on to the industry people, and they would have to train him at the end of the day. So ultimately, I would say that industry and institute both understand that there are issues, both understand it's a very complex problem, cannot be solved easily. And personally, I feel the industry has to actively come forward. Industry has to actually make it mandatory part of their performance. They can add this in their performance appraisal sheets, that how many students you have mentored in the year. So make it mandatory for everyone. Make it mandatory. How many times have you visited institutes to actually share your concerns with the institute? All that has to be made part and parcel of everyday life of every executive in an organization. And similarly, the institute should also try to approach uh, alumni, placements, HR officers. Everyone will have to sit together and solve this problem. And they are still going to be we are still going to keep evolving like this. I mean, this is not going to end very soon. It had been there for ages, and it is going to last for ages. But still, we have to see how we can get the best out of all this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I was just thinking, how should I summarize the entire discussion? But I think you did that on my behalf. You have sort of covered all the points that I was going to say. So I think a pretty fruitful discussion. We have been able to touch upon the various pillars that are there to this entire gap, which Chandrasekhar in the start mentioned has been happening since the time he was back in school until date. So many years we are having these discussions. But I'm sure that every time this discussion happens, a few of us are able to take few things back and implement that at our own personal capacity, whatever is possible. We talked about industry, what role they are currently playing or could possibly play, how students need to play a pretty crucial role in this entire piece of things, how the regulatory authority has its own part to play, and how training placement officers and faculty members together create an environment or could probably develop themselves to bridge this gap better. So lastly, I'd just like to thank all of you for joining in. I would like all the participants who have joined with us on Zoom to quickly switch on their videos. We'll take a group picture, whatever the digital platform allows us to. So we'll quickly take a group picture. For all the participants who has joined us on Facebook, thank you so much for being here. If you have anything, please do put it on the comment section. We'll try and answer your queries right there. Do follow us. We'll be coming up with a faculty development program soon in association with MAR TPO this Wednesday. Details of the same will be soon up on the social media channel, so you will get to know more on that. So it's an open program within association with MAR TPO. Let's look forward to having more faculty members on Wednesday. So I think we are waiting for a few more participants on Facebook. I am going to switch off the live now. So thank you all on Facebook for joining in.